Hi everyone, it's Sunday, November 8th, time for another HideNet Week in Review. I'm Vera Dordick. So it was another mixed scenario across the global hide market this week as European nations saw more restrictions on social activities put into place. For the most part, prices everywhere were steady or higher thanks to a combination of tight supplies and decent demand from some sectors. Starting with the United States, the past week was pretty much the same as the previous few. Offers were limited and popular steer prices inched higher. Sellers said interest was still pretty good and sales at steady levels were not a problem. And although they had to work harder to push prices up, they managed some increases on steers. Looking at heavy Texas steers, they were one of the hides to see higher price levels. Last week we said producers were looking for a minimum of $28, which they got and then some, with 64 pounds trading as high as $29.50. Slaughter for the week through Saturday, November 7th, was 647,000, up by 1% from last week. And combined export sales were definitely lower at 494,500, and that's down 9% from last week. Combined shipments were also lower by 11% at 575,200. Turning to South America, editor Ronald Guiel tells us that Brazil once again had price increases this week, and that was both for raw material and for TR1. The price of fresh hides broke the 1 real threshold and sold for 1 real and 3 cents per kilo. Just like last week, TR1 also went up by a few cents in dollars to sell for 78 cents per square foot. In Paraguay, prices were a little higher too. In other news from Brazil, the footwear sector celebrated the overthrow of the presidential veto on the exemption from payroll tax, and Sindical has a new president. From elsewhere in Latin America, Argentina's textile, clothing, and footwear sector is getting a $350 million infusion. The second virtual edition of ANPIC in Mexico generated over 7,500 business opportunities, and Mexico's manufacturing orders were higher in October, but that was not the case for leather manufacturing. And finally, Paraguay's October slaughter was its highest in 30 months. Turning to Europe, editor Andrea Guolo says that it was a relatively calm week, mostly because buyers in Europe are having a hard time understanding why prices are increasing on Brazilian and U.S. hides. Sellers were able to push the English 36 plus ox higher to 95 cents sterling per kilo, while in Ireland the price remained steady at 80 cents to 85 cents in euros per kilo. With regard to bulls this week, prices were steady and sales were very good. Northern German hides were selling at 90 cents per kilo, while Southern German clocked in at €1.30 per kilo. Cows were also largely steady last week. In his analysis, Andrea looks at who's working and who is not, and he also takes a look at what's going on with the furniture sector, which has been quite important this year for business. So you'll want to read what he has to say about that. So that's all we have for tonight, and until next week, good night from HideNet.